Netanyahu said in a statement today that this was a tragic mishap.
Yeah, I think they said also 6 terrorists were killed in the attack.
Total BS.
We've heard. How do you know?
I know it's BS because of the IDF's internal documents, which indicate that 83% of the people killed there happen to be civilians.
That there weren't any terrorists there?
I'm not going to sit here and regurgitate the lies from the Israeli government as they're conducting a genocide.
I kind of got into it with Scott Jennings on Abby Phillip's CNN show last night, and I kind of wanted to revisit some of these moments, some of the highlights. Before we get to the first clip, Waz, any thoughts on that fiery moment?
Just the guy's smugness of how do you know? Again, they've released their own internal stats that claim that 8,800 of the deaths are confirmed Hamas fighters, when we know all they do to confirm that you're a militant is that you're over the age of 16. Okay?
And you're a male, yeah.
So we know that it's probably much lower. They've been just killing people indiscriminately. Like, let's be generous and say it's like a third lower. I'm willing to say that it's probably 2/3 if we're being honest, but let's just say it's a third lower than that. That means the civilian casualty rate is higher than 83%, Anna. That means it's like 88%, 89%, 90%. Like, that's so when we know that's already their civilian casualty rate, and you come here and tell me that they done tripled it on this kill, like that they've tripled their accuracy rate for killing Hamas that they've done the whole war, nonsense.
Yeah, not only that, here's the thing. When it comes to something as significant as taking people's lives, killing them, I'm gonna need a little more than a notoriously deceptive military telling me, oh, they were militants. Oh, okay, I'm a supermodel and a billionaire. Like, you can't just make that statement and accept or think that we're all gonna accept it and regurgitate it like propagandists like Scott Jennings do. Okay, like I need to see some evidence, and to the credit of the Associated Press, in a story that I covered earlier, they report, yeah, Israel's saying this, but they haven't provided a shred of evidence at all. And in fact, of the people who were killed in that double tap strike, here are the names. Here's what they did: like a hospital worker, medical driver, like just 5 journalists. It's just such BS. And look, Israel got away with it in the very beginning and in the middle and all the way up to like maybe last week, but not anymore. I mean, we never bought it, but the whole of the US media just kind of went along with the lies. So with that in mind, let's go to our first lengthy video, I guess. This is where I just kind of lay out everything that needs to be laid out in regard to what Israel's real intentions are.
I don't believe for a second that those journalists were not targeted. I think journalists are being targeted in Gaza. They're not allowing international journalists to report on the ground to enter the Gaza Strip, unless, of course, they're being accompanied by IDF soldiers. And hundreds of journalists have been slaughtered in Gaza. Every single time it happens, Netanyahu comes out and says, oh, it was a mishap. And the United States just forgets about it and moves on, continues providing more bombs. I do consider it a genocide when you have humanitarian aid workers being slaughtered, when you have every single hospital bombed, when you have the entire Gaza Strip leveled. That's not a war. A war, if you do targeted strikes and you go after the combatants. 729 magazine, an Israeli publication, obtained IDF documents showing, their data shows that 83% of the people slaughtered in Gaza are civilians, 83%. Let me say it again, 83%. How are you gonna call that a war against Hamas?
Let's just note for the record that as I was making my point about how Israel should be doing targeted strikes instead of leveling the entirety of the Gaza Strip, this is what Scott Jennings' face looked like. I mean, look, when I'm on these types of panels, even when I do Piers Morgan's show, I try really hard to not do this annoying thing that other panelists do. We're like, Like, I can't stand it. If I really want to make my feelings known, I just interrupt them and then I talk over them. Okay? It's the more honorable way of doing it. But everything I said is verifiable. Everything.
There were a bunch of foreign doctors at that hospital who were told that they had a mandatory training and had to leave the hospital and were told they couldn't go back that day. So essentially the Israeli military knew that all of the foreign doctors who were there to administer medical care to sick, dying, suffering Gazans were made to leave for some fake training program. They all said like this was a fake training program. They knew all the foreign doctors were gonna be gone, and then they struck the hospital. Straight up. It's like, what do you call that besides targeted? Like there's no other way to put this. And then of course he gets caught on camera and it's like, oh, my bad, which with the Israelis, it happens that they're, anytime it's caught on camera, it's like, oh man, that was a big mistake. And every time it's not, it's like, oh, we got 100 Hamas guys with that strike. It's crazy the coincidence and how that's been working out.
Well, initially, after that video went viral, you had Netanyahu basically saying that it was a mishap. And then after that, the IDF got upset at him because it made the IDF look bad, like they made a mistake. And then all these the storyline about how 6 combatants were killed came out. It's so brazen, it's so obvious that it's a lie. Everything that comes out of the Israeli side is a lie unless they provide evidence, which typically they don't. I'm not gonna take what either side says at face value, but I'll take the evidence. And with the Israeli side, they just feel they're above it. They don't need to provide evidence. We should just believe everything they say, take it at face value. So, in the middle of this debate, the topic of the West Bank came up. And I think it's important to remember the West Bank, especially as, the Israel defenders pretend like they care about the hostages and that this is all about the hostages. Take a look.
Why is Israel annexing the West Bank, which of course is not governed by Hamas at all? Why are Israeli settlers allowed to just run Palestinians out of their legal homes, build thousands of illegal settlements? West Bank has nothing to do with Hamas. Why is Israel annexing it? Why did Netanyahu say that his stated goal in an interview with I-24 News, an Israeli publication, say that he has a religious need to pursue the greater Israel
I'm gonna
project?
let Scott answer quickly and then we've got to go. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
My view is this. The hostages have been there for almost 700 days. There's a reason that Hamas has not released them.
Are you going to answer her question though?
I don't know.
Not.
I don't work for the Israeli government.
It certainly sounds like you work for the Israeli government. Okay, there are no hostages in the West Bank, and he knows that. He knows that, Waz.
Again, they can't really defend anything that they're doing. I was talking to producer Taylor before I came on, and I was like, Zelensky can come up here and he can sell a narrative, right? Like he could be like, look, these guys invaded us. We need these weapons to defend ourselves. Like the Russian army was over there. Now they're over here. They're encroaching on our territory day by day, blah, blah. Like this is what we need. And it's like, all right, they can just make the case for the war that they're trying to prosecute on its face. The Israelis and their defenders, they just can't. All they can say is, but Hamas. They can't be like, well, Hamas is about to, they're this close to breaching this security perimeter, or, this many citizens are in danger because this thing that Hamas has, or they just got a new weapon, or there's nothing. It has nothing to do with the defense of the Israeli people or Israel as a sovereign nation. Like they don't make that case. It's just slaughter. Like that's it. There's nothing else there. It's just slaughter and, ethnic cleansing by any other name. Like it is what it is. Like they're trying to drive this population out. They're talking about sending them to places like Sudan, which by the way is in a civil war, a crazy war zone. So they want to send them to another meat grinder. It's just obvious. Like they push a bunch of people out of a town. There are no hostiles, no militants there, nobody there. They demolition, dynamite, detonate with explosives, controlled explosives of schools and colleges and universities and hospitals and mosques and like what do you call that? Like that's not a war. You're not fighting against Hamas when you do that. Like you're just basically trying to erase these people.
That's exactly right. And it's not just about the West Bank. It's not just about Gaza. I mean, they want to annex. I mean, look into the Greater Israel Project, okay? It goes beyond, obviously, Green Line Israel. It goes beyond Gaza and the West Bank. There is a reason why you see Israel at this very moment annexing parts of Syria, taking full advantage of the fall of Bashar al-Assad. Okay, I just don't accept that the Israeli government gives a damn about the hostages. In fact, the family members of the hostages say out loud on a regular basis that their government doesn't care about the hostages. And that's what disgusts me about all of this. I mean, to what end? How many people will Netanyahu and the IDF slaughter in their quest to dominate the Middle East? And why are the American people forced to pay for their empire building through blood and treasure? I really need to know that. I need them to answer that question. I'm not interested in building their empire. Okay, 2 more videos real quick. So the topic of the starvation came up, but Scott Jennings brought it up specifically in regard to the hostages. And I had a rebuttal. Let's take a look.
When you block humanitarian in the Gaza Strip for 3 months straight, it not only impacts the Palestinians, which I know you couldn't care less about, but it also obviously is going to impact the hostages. They're going to starve to death as well.
You're saying Israel is starving the hostages?
I'm saying, yes, yeah. When you block humanitarian aid for 3 months, where do you think they're going to get the food from?
Max, Israel.
What a joke.
Are you blaming Israel for something? Yeah, I am. He was shocked. I can't believe someone's blaming Israel for something. They've never done anything wrong, ever. Are you kidding me? Israel? No, they couldn't. Israel commits war crime after war crime after war crime. They blocked humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip for 3 months straight. What do you think happens to everyone in that territory, including the hostages? Is he stupid or is he just pretending to be stupid? Okay, I'm never gonna get invited on CNN again if I keep going like this, but it's just, I can't hold back. I really can't.
It's the smugness for me, honestly. Just this, like the incredulity, like Israel is starving. Yes, they've said that, they said this stuff on TV, not like cranks or like, you know, some like political talking heads, like people high up in their government are like, no, we're gonna starve them. We're gonna cut food off. We're gonna cut aid off. We're gonna starve these guys, malnutrition these guys to death. That's what, like they said this. These aren't idle threats. They've said this publicly and gone out and executed it.
Absolutely. In fact, just yesterday, there was a video of a Likud party member. I don't know what her name is. She had terrible makeup, like, and then like super, super long straight hair. That's all I know about her. And what she was advocating for, she was actually furious that Israel was being a little bit apologetic after doing that double strike on Nasser Hospital, killing 5 journalists and medical workers and first responders, right? And she was like, how dare you? We should be proud of this. We want revenge. This is revenge, and we shouldn't be ashamed of it. And it's like, wow, okay. And you know what? It's amazing because they say it out loud all the time. And yet the American people are supposed to believe their intentions are different. No, I'm gonna believe people when they tell me who they are and what they intend to do. And they are in fact doing what they say they're gonna do. Okay, final video. I'm not gonna lie, the reaction to this or the lack of reaction to this made me very depressed all last night, pretty much all of today. So I finally brought up what I find to be a gross injustice, and it has to do with an alleged Israeli pedophile. Take a look.
The problem with Trump, though, is I think crime is the cover story. I think this is a power grab. And the reason why I say that is because look at the specific examples of crime that he allegedly wants to go after. I mean, just recently, his FBI did a sting operation in Las Vegas, and they managed to catch, through this sting operation, 8 separate pedophiles that were trying to have sex with minors, okay? One of those pedophiles is an Israeli government official who his government allowed to fly back to Israel after he had been charged in that sting operation for using technology to lure a minor for sex. And when it comes to the immigration issue, he loves to go after the undocumented immigrants, but not the employers employing the undocumented immigrants.
You mentioned that Trump, you described it as a cover story, but I think it's also worth noting that Trump has been talking about doing this.
So no comment on the fact that there was an Israeli government official trying to rape American children and we just let him go back to Israel? No. Okay, I just.
There's been a blackout on that one though. That's been a concerted. You won't find that in the Post. You won't find that in the Times. You won't find it on MSNBC. You won't find it on CNN. You will not find that anywhere of the major news outlets. Like the people that have covered it have been places like TYT and places like Dropsite and like the Breaking Points, all the like sort of independent media, like Pod Bros, like those kind of people have covered it. The major news outlets have completely been like, we're not touching that. It makes Israel look terrible. It makes our government look complicit in it. It's like, it's crazy.
But because they are complicit in it. So let's just be clear. This is why I say we can't think of the government as an entity that protects the people. We have to think of ourselves as individuals who protect ourselves from the government, literally at this point. So the big message here, and F you, by the way, to all the corporate media that has provided cover for a disgusting pedophile. The big message to the American people by our government, by our corporate media, is that Israeli government officials are free to come here, do sex tourism and victimize minors, and then they get to go home and never have to worry about facing prosecution for their disgusting, loathsome crimes. And yeah, it does make Israel look bad. Israel loves to harbor pedophiles. CBS, by the way, in 2020 actually did a big expose on that. Convicted American pedophiles flee to Israel. In some cases, just charged. They haven't even been prosecuted yet. In some cases, they don't even have to be Jewish. They'll convert. And then they find a safe haven in Israel. First of all, what kind of country do you want to be, Israel? Seriously, what kind of country do you want to be? All right, fine. You want to slaughter the Muslims. I find that disgusting. But let's put that aside for a second. Really, you want to be a magnet for pedophiles? That's our greatest ally? No, thank you.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.